Hey everyone, Mel Abraham here, the author of the #1 best-selling book, The Entrepreneur Solution, and the founder of Thoughtpreneur Academy, where we get a chance to teach you how to capture what you know, the wisdom, the ideas in your head, capture, package, and monetize it. And in this episode, I get a chance to speak to an amazing, amazing individual, but also a good friend of mine, someone that I've had the opportunity and the blessing to share a lot of time with, working with him at events and being, kind of colleagues in the entrepreneurial space and even getting a chance to understand ourselves personally. I think you're in for a tremendous treat with this friend of mine. Anthony Trucks is with us today. If you don't know Anthony, you need to get to know Anthony. He's got an incredible journey, an incredible story that allows you to start to realize that adversity is just a circumstance and that you rise above it. And he went from foster care to the NFL. He lived a life that's worth telling a story about. And since his time in the NFL, he's an entrepreneur. He's had numerous successful businesses. He's an entrepreneurial coach. He's an international speaker, an author, a consultant. One of the greatest roles he serves, though, is a father of 3 and an incredible father that I've seen him with his children and how he cares for them. He teaches entrepreneurs what it means to trust your hustle and to get out of your own way, to get success in your business and your life. And no one in the world does it quite like him. He had an incredible experience and background to bring to bear on that. And the other thing that hopefully he'll tell us a little bit about is this is a guy who gets it. He gets it that this isn't about all acquiring, accomplishing, and achieving, but it's a lot about giving. It's a lot about giving back. I've seen a number of posts from him, a number of things where he's going into other countries to literally use football or use entrepreneurship or to use some of his story to help youth see possibility, see a different way of living life and coaching them along that way. And I think that when you're being given a gift, and I think that the ability for us as entrepreneurs to live a life of our own design is a gift. It's an opportunity, yes. It's a responsibility, but it's a gift that we ought to embrace wholly, but also realize that we need to give it back. And Anthony certainly does that. Welcome to the show, Anthony. It's a blessing and an honor to have you here with me.
Thank you, man. I'm going to bring with me everywhere to give this little intros. I don't know if I've ever heard an intro that good yet. I appreciate it.
Don't ask me to do it again. I don't know what I said.
It's recorded, so we're good. We'll get it later.
Do me a favor, I kind of gave my slant on it just because I know you and the time that we spent together. But the audience may not know you. Give us a kind of a quick glimpse of who you are, kind of the journey, and I think I kind of know the answer to this. But did you really expect to be here at this point in your career, in your life, as you go through here?
No. It's odd is I get that question actually more times than I would expect to, because I guess most people, it's not so much the same framing, but how'd you get here? Like, how'd you end up here, right? Because for me, I grew up in foster care. Like my very first memory is my mom giving me away to foster care and life starting out completely like horribly, like, not caring that, I even exist, and it made me feel completely unworthy. And like foster youth in America, we're set off for failure. I found out recently that 75% of inmates in any prison are former foster youth. 2% ever graduate college. So like statistically, like I'm not supposed to do very well, but like that was my first memory, and it kind of like left me in this place of feeling like, I'm worthless, but I rolled on to different parts of my life. And it's odd. I found this really close connection to entrepreneurs and business owners because essentially what I look at, like I became kind of an entrepreneur when I was 3. When I was given away, I got to this point where I was just wandering the world. Like I felt like I was on an island, didn't know what tomorrow brought. I was scared, completely felt lost, which is kind of the first feeling an entrepreneur gets when they jump into the space. Like I don't know what tomorrow brings. Like I got this business idea, and my mom pushed me in that space. But as an entrepreneur, our hearts push us there because a lot of us go in to make an impact, leave a legacy. About 11 years of craziness of life, starvation, torture, and beatings and stuff that really was horrible. I got to a point where I had kind of the second moment entrepreneur feels, which is I got to this place where I was chalking up football because I just got a chance to play football. I couldn't play because I wasn't adopted yet. My adoptive mom was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis, And then my brother, he went to the military. So I'm kind of just wandering around in life. And I was literally about to give up this thing that I loved. And this girl in class, my English class, says to some girl next to her, having no idea I'm listening, because the reason I'm so bad is because I'm in foster care. And I was like, that sounds ridiculous. Like, that sounds horrible. And
Wow.
it made me start thinking about, like, is that how I'm going to be 20 years from now, 30 years from now? And it gave a complete shift. And I went home and I worked my butt off and I get better at football. Next year I got, pushed to varsity as a sophomore, got a chance to play in college on scholarship. I went to the NFL. And that second moment is the one where we have this dream that we want to bring into the world as a business owner, entrepreneur, or we're in a business and we're struggling and we just don't know what to do. So sometimes we chalk it up like I was about to. And what I learned was my company's message way back then. I didn't know it back then, but I hustled, I grinded, I worked, and I got this success. And I think a lot of us as business owners or aspiring business owners, we don't comprehend that we have a lot of tools, right? Someone can teach you to do something. We have the techniques of how to do it, but we lack the technician sometimes. And that's where the whole message of trust your hustle boils down to is you got to hustle. But if you don't trust your hustle, it won't happen. So I did, and it pushed me through a lot of places in life. I didn't kind of comprehend the ability I gained back then to make me successful later on, because I did get a chance after the NFL to open a business, which was a gym, ran it for 6 years, became a six-figure consultant just to kind of try out some new thing, and became successful at that. And I was like, this is really cool. And then I got unfulfilled. And it was this thing where I woke up one day and I just didn't feel like I loved this gym I had. I didn't love the consulting. And I ended up in a seat in a Brendan Burchard event. And I was at Experts Academy. And I was just kind of sitting there listening. And it really just, it started to have, like, I got that same feeling of love for something new again. And I started having this like internal shift. But it wasn't until, like, I think moments in life have these big catalysts. And it was April 15th, 2014. And I was sitting in a hospital room. And I was holding my mom's right hand and she took her last breath. And it was one of those moments where, like, you start to think about, like, why are we here? What are we doing? Like, it just made me question, like, well, how am I who I am? Like, those statistics don't boil up to me being successful. I had a business that went past the whole 5-year realm of like 95% fail. I got a chance to play in the NFL, somewhere that, few human beings get an opportunity to play. And so statistically, like, I don't exist. Like, write on paper, like, he shouldn't actually exist. And what I realized was because my mom, she impacted me. And this woman had left her this world after a 17-year battle with multiple sclerosis, and she couldn't fulfill her life and live. She couldn't walk, move, talk. And I started thinking, like, she impacted me so I could then go and venture off. And I started thinking about, like, who do I want to work with? And I realized that people, like, the fact that we can do this and talk is because an entrepreneur, someone had an idea and a vision and they wanted to bring it to the world. Like, it was more of not a quick buck, but an impact and a legacy. And I realized for me, like, I want to impact those people. Because of the impact that was left on me, I can actually do it. And so my sole purpose is to impact people who impact people. So that allows me to reach more people with the compassion I have, which is I want to live life and be happy. I am so incredibly grateful for my health, for my kids, for people like yourself in my life. And that's all I need. I don't need a bunch of money. I just need relationships. And so for me, if I can help teach other people to do that, it makes my life feel like I did something on this planet.
So huge, Anthony. I mean, it's so cool to hear, Solution Nation to really think about that journey. And it's easy to just flippantly say, great story. Mm-hmm. But let's go back for a moment and look at this. I mean, statistically, like you said, the odds are against you, but the thing is that all statistics fit in this like spectrum of maybe it's a bell curve, but that doesn't mean you're required to be in the belly of the bell curve. And I think society has a tendency to push us to the belly of the bell curve. And the belly of the bell curve is mediocrity. And it's not a place to live. I mean, I can't imagine, and I know for certain you don't do it, Anthony, but I can't imagine that we're waking up in the morning going, yeah, today I think I'm going to be mediocre.
Yeah, not at all. That's never the goal. At least for me, it's not.
No, and the fact is that it takes one. I mean, there's so many things that I think we can take away from that. One is that statistics don't matter.
Yeah.
And it's really easy to say, well, only a few percent make it to the NFL. Well, why shouldn't you be that few percent?
Yeah,
Or
exactly.
there's no reason that just because it's a few percentage points, it doesn't mean that you shouldn't be in that category. And then I think the other thing to realize is that, and this is where I think it's really important. I start to think about what you do and what I do, and some of the stuff with thought leadership and thoughtpreneurship, and in Thoughtpreneur Academy. I said, it only takes one. You had this woman that came into your life by choice. She adopted you. She took you under her wing. She loved you. She cared for you. She nurtured you. She guided you. And she gave you the fuel to go on, to turn around and say, here's someone who took care of me, that didn't have, in the end, had a challenge with her voice, challenge with her mobility. But I'm going to carry on the lessons I learned. And if it impacts just one soul on this planet, then that's good enough for me.
That's it. Yeah, that's really it. It goes down to a lot. I think we can be the one. I think what a lot of people don't comprehend is the reason those statistics take place is because we think about them as we live our life. Like, oh, well, I'm supposed to just be that. That's what the numbers say. But the reality isn't tied to that. The reality is I have to just think differently, and that makes me separate.
Absolutely. So let me ask you this question about that. What would you say? Because I know that both you and I have lived with this and had to battle with this. But what would you say to someone that would come to you, or someone saying to someone that you're coaching that says, who are you to step up and try to lead this charge? Yeah.
And I think that's where, I don't know if there's someone that gives you permission. There's not like someone that says like, oh, you're the one that's supposed to do it. It's like, you just decide you are, because it's a whole thing. If not me, who, if not now, when? And for me, it was a decision of, I just feel like I'm supposed to. What's cool is when I got past the initial thought of like, well, me, it was like, I'm doing this for somebody else. Well, now what it boils down to is I'm now doing this because I want to make sure that I take this message that was given to me and push it out into the world in a space that just seems to need it. And then there's validation past that. Once you get past myself, people are like, holy crap, thank you. And I'm like, well, if there's a thank you out of this, I'm supposed to be doing this. So I continue to keep pushing forwards.
Beautiful. I mean, it's so true that, I was on someone was interviewing me, and they asked me a similar question. And I said, who are we to withhold that one word that one person needs that's going to change their life?
That you may never meet. Yeah.
And so cool. If I talk to one of your closest friends or some of the people you worked with, customers, and ask them, what you stood for in their eyes, what do you think they would say about you, about Anthony Trucks, the Anthony Trucks?
Yeah, they would. I don't know. It's funny because everybody thinks I'm always happy, always smiling. I'm incredibly happy, like all the time. I don't have many off days, but one thing I know that would say is like I care. Like I genuinely do care. Like my employees and my staff, they were like my family. I had my gym and I ran it for a long period of time and loved them. I'm very big on trying to teach people how to get better out of their own way. Like that's really, when people ask what I do, I teach people to get out of their own way. And it all starts truly internally, but it's philosophical and like lovey-dovey as it sounds. It's not really me saying, love yourself, believe in yourself. It's me teaching you how to do things so that you can actually feel that for yourself. Because that, I believe, is where people actually have changed. When they apply something new to their life, they get this change like, oh crap, I can do that. Well, now you feel better. You feel more powerful, and you feel like, I can take the next thing on and the next thing on. And so that's for me is what it is. I want someone to always leave my presence being better. If I don't know if it's 5 minutes I met you, 30 seconds I met you, but if you saw this face, I want this face to be able to pop into your head and be like, what, good humans actually exist still.
Absolutely. And you live that. I know just from the first time that you and I met that you live that you really kind of take that on. And I look at this in this context of, when we look at this, Solution Nation, you start to ask yourself this, what are the I call them micro successes, that kind of those mini successes that, life's like this relay race. And then every time you get a little bit of success, you keep on going. And the challenge we have is that we are horrendously great at beating ourselves up and,
Yeah.
and airing dirty laundry.
Mhm.
And we're horrendously bad at celebrating someone's success.
Yeah. Yeah, it's weird.
No matter how small it is.
Yeah. And sometimes ourselves. I think when it comes to other people's success, sometimes their success holds a mirror to your lack of it. And then you beat yourself even more and even more. And so for me, I also look at like, whenever you beat yourself, there was a Dove study that was done. It was like a video like they did where they asked a person, hey, describe yourself to a sketch artist. And a person would like describe themselves and they'd have this picture, they'd have somebody they knew come in and describe the same person. And they would show the two pictures. The one that was, described by the person themselves was always like this ugly one. The one described by somebody else was always beautiful. And it was this thing where like you start looking at, well, why do we look so much at our negative? Why are we always just focusing on the bad things we have? And I think for me, it boils down to a lot of us, like my whole company of the message, trust your hustle. Like trust is an emotion. Yeah. And what I found is that, like you talk about the successes, emotions are driven from actions, whether it's a good action or bad action. You feel good because of something that happened, right? Or you feel bad because of something that happened, even if it's just the way you perceive it, but it's an action. And for us, what happens is we have these things that happen, that life just happens, and we look at the negative things. So what it does is we see only that. It builds this negative trust. So when we start saying, can I chase that? Can I do that? Can I be the non-statistic? Our body says, well, we failed at this. Like, probably can't do anything else. So we shut down. When the reality is, if you can perceive it differently, new filter and see those past things, you know what? I learned this from that and this from that and this from that. Well, now you can start seeing this hope and a possibility of just having something new take place, and you go forwards and you have a success. And as you have success, well, now it builds a new positive trust. So the more you go down the road, the farther you get, it's like, well, you know what? I got these 10 things done. Like I can probably take this next one on. It's a little bit higher. And so you keep climbing and climbing and climbing. And then you get to this point where it's like me right now, I closed my gym and ventured into this new world. And I did it because I just trust my hustle. I trust that I don't know at all what tomorrow brings, just like I didn't as a kid. But I know I bring me. Like I bring this guy that's just, I'm a figure outer. Like I'll figure it out when I get there. And that's what works. It's only because I've had it happen in the past, because I just took a leap, got success, and I trust myself.
So true, so true. Yeah, and I think that's why I believe that we all need mentors and coaches and, masterminds, people in our lives, because we have our nose against what I call our nose against the tree bark. We can't see ourselves. We can't value ourselves. Yeah. And a coach, a mentor, or some of these folks that are in our lives, they get a chance to take the mirror behind you and show you other facets that you don't appreciate and you don't know. I mean, that study is an amazing, amazing study, because it's really easy for us to highlight our negatives, to feel inadequate, and look at that. And so to have someone that goes, no, you got this, man. That was really good.
It's just a new perspective.
Huge.
I tell people perspective precedes enlightenment. Like we have like the enlightenment of these aha moments of like, oh, like I didn't even think about it that way. And you get that from just looking at something a little bit differently, which is somebody that's a mentor gives you like, hey, I see what you're seeing. I get that. Look at it like this. Oh, right. The new perspective precedes that enlightenment, which helps you move forwards.
So true. Dang. Yeah, this is cool. So, and I know that you're a hustler. Question is that if you look back on your journey, if you look back on the path, and I can already, just in our short conversation, I see patterns in you. And I'm one of those, look, I'm an accountant by trade. So I'm trained to recognize patterns, whether they're behavioral or numeric in things. But what are the 3 habits that you think contributed most to your success?
Oh man, there's a lot of them. Like one of them is just like I'm grateful. I think it's a humongous thing to be grateful. Like every day I wake up and I know where I could be. I know exactly where I could be, which typically wouldn't be a good place at all. One of the big things is I'm very ethical and moral with how I operate. Like everybody always like asks me this question of like, how'd you get through it? Who was your mentor? And for me, I tell them my mentor, like my guidance, like besides my faith, was right. Like right. It's just it. And people are like, what does that mean? I say, well, at the end of the day, like there's things are right and wrong. We as humans know right and wrong. Our body, like physiologically, we know, can feel right or wrong.
Absolutely.
The problem is what is usually wrong feels right. what is usually right feels wrong. Like it just feels like it's hard, like being honest. You find $20, giving it back, like that's hard, right? It feels awkward, but that's the right thing to do. And for me, I go right all the time. And it leads me to a place where it's like, even if it may have done something that somebody else would have done or it's harder to do, I end up in a place where I can go to sleep every night comfortable, wake up every day knowing I'm going to give back to the world in a positive way. I have no dark holes. I have no, I'm really a big believer in what you do in the dark comes to the light. So I don't do anything in the dark. I just do right. And then the third one for me is just consistency. Like as a human in all aspects, the way I treat people, the way I treat my kids, the way I speak, the way I think, it's just how I hustle every day. I think consistency is what people fail to comprehend is the determinant between success and non-success. It's you start something and I don't get quick success. I got to do something else. No, be consistent because you'll learn a lesson along that journey that nobody else learned because nobody else kept going when you did. And that I think becomes a huge separator for people.
Stay on the path. Stay on the path. I remember doing a post one time about the fact that so many times people look at other people. They'll look at our mutual friend Brendan Burchard. They'll look at you. They'll look at different people and they go, "Oh, they're so gifted." But you know what they've been getting? Yeah, maybe there's a gift, there's a talent there, but at the same time, what they really have been gifted with is the gift of discipline, the gift of staying on the path, staying on the journey, to sit back and say, no, I know that this is right, and this whole idea of living a right life. I think is huge. I agree with you. I think we innately know right from wrong, and yet we still make choices that are incorrect. I mean, I look at it and say there's two of the most important decisions we can make in business and life is what am I going to stand for and how am I going to show up? Yeah. And if we get that dialed in, the rest of it's easy.
Yeah, true. You just take care of when it comes. It's a pattern of how you
absolutely. So really cool. And I think that there's a lot to take away in this, no matter whether you're starting a business, in a business, or just living life that may help you out. The fact of the matter is that we're going to hit obstacles. We're going to hit challenges, whether it's health, whether it's work, whether it's financial, whether it's relationships. Yeah. It's how you deal with it that's going to get you through it.
Yeah, that's life, man. Life is what happens between your plans.
It certainly is. I mean, as soon as the ink is dried on the plan, guess what?
Changes.
Start writing again.
Yeah, you got to figure it as you go. And I think sometimes people are afraid of it changing.
Yeah.
And if you get good at changing, you're fine. Like I always ask people, like, what's something you're phenomenal at? Like, I'm good at making lumpias, or I'm good at painting, right? Okay, well, all of a sudden you ran out of paint. What would you do? Or your paintbrush broke, what would you do? Like you find a new way to make it happen because you just figure it out. And the more you do it, the more skilled and confidence you have in doing that when it happens. So just start to plan and work the plan, man. It's you cannot see what's around the bend until you start walking the path.
It's Brian Tracy calls it the corridor principle. The opportunities that you have today are because you got out in the corridor. They're not because you locked yourself in a room, in a box. Yeah. You can't see. So if you're really looking at opportunities, I mean, the reason you and I are talking today is because, trust me, coming from the accounting profession, I could have been in a box.
I'm sure.
Yeah. Was because I was willing to get out of my own way, get out of the corridor. And all of a sudden you start to see these other doors of opportunity, of friendships and colleagues and ways to have an impact and live a bigger purpose, a bigger dream. Mm-hmm. And you kind of go, all right. But if I stayed in the room, I would have never seen it.
Yeah. But some people are scared of what's outside. They're more fearful of the unknown than they are of what could actually happen. They only look at, what if this bad thing happened? We're like, yeah, but what if this amazing thing happens? You couldn't even comprehend.
It's true. And I wish they would take it one step further and look at it and say, because I truly believe that very few things very few choices, very few things we do in our life are ever terminal.
Yeah.
I mean, we can screw things up. We can do that. Look, the first webinar I did, I didn't know the webcam was on and I didn't have a shirt on. Okay? I survived that.
That's great. Yeah. But once you get to that level, it's also like, I think the big thing too, is you can do that and talk about it. And then the next thing is you connect to humanity as people. Like people do these things, right? The next level of people that are in our space, it's like, hey, I'm not perfect. I'm just better at this thing than you might be. And I'm going to help you in this area, right? And when you can accept that, not trying to be perfect all the time, people connect to you. And part of being able to connect to you is accepting and owning your failures, your setbacks, and just like look at them the right way, the good perspective.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So looking back now, what's the biggest hurdle that you kind of had to get over and get around, and how'd you do that to get you where you're at?
Oh man, one of the greatest, this is a weird one. One of the greatest gifts that I hated at the time, and it literally led me to sitting in a parked car waiting for a store to open to buy rat poison one night. Like it was to a dark place, man. I was like, if it wasn't for GPS, I'm not here right now. And it was my ex-wife had an affair. She was my high school sweetheart, mother of my 3 kids. Like, she's the only woman past my mom that I really had this deep, deep, deep love for. And having grown up through what I grown up through, like a connection to a woman for me is like incredibly powerful. So when she like took my family away from me, which is my family, the first family I had, my kids, by having this affair, and it just left me dark. And that was the biggest catalyst for me to just growth. And not because of anything more, but it just opened my eyes to me. It's the biggest thing. It forced me, if I want to feel better, it forced me to start thinking about who am I? And, you get pissed because she did what she did and it tore the family apart. But then the biggest thing that really opened every door was, how could this be my fault? The moment that I stepped back and said, where did I play a role in this? That became like this humongous, like, oh crap, look at my entire life, because she made a horrible decision, but somehow I got us to a place with her, obviously, that left her at a point to make a decision, right?
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, okay, well, there's some fault in this. And then on top of that, it's like you start looking at, well, if that's what she was dealing with, or I was dealing with, like, how could she deal with this? Was it done maliciously to me to hate me? Like, no, she was just trying to do the best she could to fulfill her needs, and then I start seeing that. And it's like, oh, well, that's the case. Like, how many people in this world are dealing with the same thing? So at this point, like, I have a great deep care for her as a human. For everybody else, she was here watching a movie with the kids just yesterday, hanging out, because I don't hate her in any way, because I feel her heart and what was going on. She was left in a place of feeling separate from me, feeling neglected, and she did what she did. And then other people that say negative things or rude things or do bad stuff, it's like, my first thought is like, what are they struggling with? Like, well, they may be mean to me and mad at me, but great, happy people. I've never seen an incredibly happy person like being mean to anybody,
Right.
So that mindset shifted, and then it allowed me to start looking at me and start looking at how I communicate with people, and start reading, self-help books and personal development type stuff. And I'm still a guy's guy. Like, I'll still go catch a beer and watch a football game. Like, I'm the dude's dude. Most of my guys are alpha male guys, right?
Yeah.
But I'm the guy that can openly talk and express my emotions. And I think it became this completely freeing thing. I'm free. Like, I'll tell you everything about me. I have no problem. I don't care what your judgments are, because I realize that a good person really cares about me. It's not really going to make me feel bad about it, And when you get to that place of not caring about the judgments, like, you don't care about people, you just don't care about the judgments because you know where they actually hold weight, which is a person's life, the battle they're dealing with themselves, because I was in that place at some time before. And life opens up. That's why I'm incredibly happy, because I'm free and I can provide that kind of free to other people.
So true. So true. It's what I call the nightmare gift. I mean, and we all have those throughout our life. And yours was the breakup with your ex-wife. And I know with me, one of them was the partnership breakup for me. And, in the moment, it's so emotional. It's so tormenting. It's so horrendous that you don't even know how you're going to go on. Mm-hmm. But I think you said something that is really, really powerful. And I've talked about it a number of times in my presentations, and actually recently in a broadcast. And that is, you looked inside yourself and said, I had something to do with this. I mean, it would have been really easy to strictly just point the finger at her and say, you did this to me, you did this to me, you did this to me. But you were willing to be vulnerable. You were willing to say, I don't know what it is. I don't know how it is, and I don't know how big it was, but somehow I contributed to it. And when you do that in life, I really believe you regain the power to change and shift things in your life. If we go around blaming everyone else for our woes, then we are well, we're playing the victim, and we don't feel like we've got the ability to do something about it. And that's the only way we are going to find our ability to grow. And that's what came out of this.
And if not, repeat that same thing, because you'll keep using those like life actions every time you're in a place of decision or a place of living your life. You'll fall back to that same role. And so I can get a new girlfriend, I can get a new wife, but I'll do the exact same thing. It's not until I realize, hey, I messed up here, that I'll change things. And I'm active in the moment. I mean, I'm always monitoring my own brain.
Yeah.
I'll be active in my life moments, thinking about, hey, how much of you is that past guy right this moment? How you respond? Like I had a conversation with somebody yesterday online, and I responded emotionally. I wasn't like rude or condemning anything, but it was like this thing where later on I was like, you know what? I apologize online. Like, you know what? That was childish. It was immature. I apologize. I'm not perfect. I'm human, but I can monitor myself, go back and have the ability to be vulnerable enough to admit my mistakes as a man. And now, oddly enough, like we're like somewhat like cool. It's like, he's like, hey, if you ever want to, like, if you're in the area, hit me up. We'll grab a bite to eat. Like awkward.
Well, it's like in the old days when you used to get in a fight in elementary school, and then you became best friends. Yeah,
that's what it boils down to. But it's because he's also, I would say, an evolved guy. Like he's thoughtful, right? So, and it's like it allows, when you have that kind of space to be you, but then also to communicate at a deeper level and say, I'm sorry. It's accepted. It's not like abrasive. Like I feel good because we both learned something. Even if it was like the way it went about, we both learned something because we're in a place to learn it.
So true. So true. I mean, there's so much, there's just so much wisdom and experience that's coming through here, Anthony. I mean, it's just amazing what we're getting. I mean, I think that the lessons, business or life, they're universal, and being able to be vulnerable, to be that in that space. I mean, it's really easy for, especially in this social media world, I believe that in some senses, social media has desocialized us.
Very much so.
We've gone from a place where connection is confused. I mean, contacts is confused with connection.
Yeah, true.
And we're starved for connection. We're starved for that real deep connection. And so we can use systems and we can use processes and we can use social media, but we need to connect with the humanity of each other. And it's really easy for someone out there. I mean, you've done it. I know I do it. I'm on Periscope and I see the trolls, I guess they call them, that come on and they just start typing things. You're ugly. You're this. And I'm going, yeah, all right, dude. God, come on, man.
Yeah, I had one guy said he typed in 666 Satan. I was like, man, you're having a bad day, aren't you, bud?
Well, that's what happened. With me, I go, someone said something on mine, and I said, yeah, class act, buddy. I'm good. And you just kind of go with it, and if we took that, if we took that to heart each and every time, we wouldn't be doing what we're doing. We'd crawl in a hole and be afraid of our own shadow.
Yeah, I think that's because it's, I don't know if you 100% agree, but it's bigger than you. The thought for me is like when we get to a place where everything becomes bigger than us. It's like what I do, the message I have, like the Trust Your Hustle message, it's not like it was put in me, but it's not mine, if that makes sense. I'm just the one leading the charge. I have the torch and I'm care, but I'm going to pass the torch on everybody else. And I think when people say those things, it's like, yeah, I could get mad like you're attacking me, but that's just me. And this isn't about just me. I'm not on this Facebook Live for just me. It's the people that are going to get something from this.
Well, that's what's driving me. Because how many times do you sit back and go, yeah, I want to go and do a broadcast, and you're real excited. I mean, there's times, but by chance, if that one person needs to hear that message that day, I got to get on there and do it. And if technology, if the advancement of technology has given us the gift of being able to permeate geographic lines and to connect with people, then we ought to use it for the positive, for a good, to transform people's lives as best we can. And I'm with you, my friend. I really think that's where we need to focus and continue on that journey.
I agree. That's what I'm doing every day. That's why I do these things when it's like my days are thin, my mind is thin, but I realize that there's like right now, someone's watching this that neither of us have ever seen or met before. Yeah. And the person watching is going to get something that's going to truly like help them, change them. Yeah. And what if I decided not to do this? What if I decided to sleep in or postpone? Like all these weird little things that happen, but this person could be the catalyst to change something amazing for our entire world some point in time later.
I just look at, I don't know. Yeah, I'm not an overly religious guy, but
Mhm.
I certainly believe that there's a higher power and spiritual and all of that.
Yeah.
But I don't believe in coincidences. I mean, I look at just just meeting Stephanie, my wife, my beautiful
Yeah.
bride, how she was placed in that spot. I was gonna change my flight. For those that don't know, I chased her down in an airport, basically. So,
Yeah.
that's another story for another time. But the fact is that she usually doesn't fly that day. I was going to change my flight. We've been running around the same circles almost and geographically for a lot of time. And in that moment, for that 10, 15 minutes, we ended up in each other's lives.
Yeah.
And my life's never been the same. Now,
Yeah.
she's probably going to say the same. Hopefully it's good. And I think that we get that opportunity to affect people's lives. And when we get ourselves out of this and up here, we can affect lives.
Yeah.
And Lord knows, globally, society and humanity needs it more than ever.
More, man, that's why, the course I created is tied so specific to community. And I grew up without community. I grew up being passed around like an animal. I think that what you kind of said was dead on. What I tell people all the time is, what happens in the world? How do you get these amazing opportunities? I say, well, the problem is we all have these amazing opportunities. I truly believe from me seeing life, that life has this amazing plan worked out for us. We just got to be there. The problem is we mess it up. Yeah. We mess it up with our judgments of another human being. We see in that space. Because what if you saw her, we're like, oh, I don't like her shoes, she just being like anything, or just you were in a bad emotional space, right? But I think when we are open to the world providing something, we just head out of the phone. Yeah. Just do that. Or it comes in a form of something that scares you a little bit, or something that makes you question a little bit. But that, I believe the fear hides the amazing breakthrough. So for us, I think, life has these great possibilities, right? Some guy at the airport meets a woman, she changes his life. That happens for everybody all the time. And we're put in a place to have it happen, but I think we mess it up.
We do. We do. We become our own worst nightmare and then enemy.
All the time, man.
So let me ask you this. We're kind of shifting gears a little bit, but if you started to look, with what you've been through, what you're doing now, looking forward into the future, 5-10 years, where do you think we as a society, as a humanity, should be spending our time to be able to have the greatest impact, if you will, that next $1 million idea?
Yeah, I think it's virtual reality. You're already seeing people do virtual reality seminars. They can put a person up on stage, and I think for us, you have the phone, they do 360 cameras. You can be in that space and move your camera and see everything. And I think that is where we're moving, because you can basically put a mask on and be sitting in a chair and moving around an entire open space. So I think for us, it's going to be the next level is virtual reality, because you're going to have 3 billion new people online. And if I want to hold a meeting, I want to hang out with somebody, I can give you a call. We can both put a little virtual reality things on, have the cameras there. We can hang out and talk in space. It's a whole different monster that it's been progressing for years. But I think the next 5 to 10 years, it'll be something that's unique and completely that I think there'll be technology and hardware that changes the entire world. So that's my.
For those that are old enough to remember the old George Jetson cartoon, I think that ultimately a lot of that stuff is coming to bear. They're coming to reality.
Yeah, definitely. It's going to be, I think, quicker than we even know. It'll just sneak in here, and all of a sudden it'll be I'll sit in a biz like this. We could be sitting here doing this, or you could have a camera. You probably could just right now get a camera. They have these 360 cameras, put it in front of you, and somebody could be in your office with you. They could turn around with their head and they can see the back of your office. That's what can really happen now. So imagine.
We don't want them to do that because I haven't cleaned the whole office.
And I'm in the middle of my separate room or my studio. I have my filming and my lights and everything, but that's pretty much what happens. And I think that's the next 5 to 10 years is that kind of connection and then some.
So how is, this is the tech question what technology tools, because I know you're kind of a digger finder and kind of find some things, that technology tools or tactics that have you used to build your productivity, to get things done better, quicker, faster, more efficiently?
Well, it's kind of old school and new school mix is how I do it, but I'm a systems guy. What I do is I write everything down in a spreadsheet. Like if I have something to do, right? For example, I have a podcast just like you that I do, and I can get a podcast from sending an email out, to having someone on the podcast and out to them loaded in 6 different places in less than an hour if I really wanted to. Like it's just bang, bang. And it's because I write every step I do down, and then I do that. I'm like, well, what if I did this or merge this or fix this? And what I do is I then get it all streamlined. And then I find technology that allows me to do multiple things at once. And so it could be a click of a button where I just hit a button, load something, and it goes like 5 different places, right? So I think my hacks, my productivity thing is I want to make something as streamlined as possible without having to do anything more than like a couple clicks and make it happen. And most people, they'll oh, this is the way to do it. They'll lug that around. They'll do it forever like that. It's slow. For me, I'm like, how can I always improve this to where I can get, my thing is this, in the space I'm in, if I can get more quality content out than anybody else, I'll flood it and I'll actually be seen as better, or more people know me because I have more opportunities to be seen and more consistent content. The problem is people say, well, I got to do a podcast and it's going to take X amount of days to do it. Or I want to do, like, I do a video every single day, and people I tell I do it, they're like, how do you do it every single day? I got an assistant that does it in honestly about 7 to 10 minutes a night.
Yep.
Filming to ending to post it in 6 places. And so when I can do that, like every day, I think every week I have 13 new videos that go out into the ether every week. So I'll get hundreds of things done when someone may have gotten 50 or maybe 100. And that's all because of the systems and utilizing technology. And as it comes out, I'm not married to the technology, I'm married to the process. If something new comes out, I'll check it out. If it can replace something, boom, take it out, put it in. Always fine tuning.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Is there a technological tool that you're using that allows you to do that? What are you using?
My cell phone. That's the biggest tool, to be honest. There's not one simple thing. I think a lot of it ties to the software that's out there. Like, right. It's like I use Blabs. It's one thing I use for my podcast, or I use apps, like specific apps that I have on my phone. So I'll kind of just always keep my eye out for new apps or new different piece of software that comes out. But it's really tied to the hardware and what you choose to do with it. And I look at kind of like how much use can I get out of one piece of equipment? Yep. Right? Because I could take my camera, get an SD card, film it, plug it in my laptop, edit it up, then put it up on some spot, load it, goes, all that. Or I'm going to say, how can I get this one thing to do all of that in a couple minutes? That's how I did it.
The funny thing is, I tell people ask me, how do you get so much done? And I look at them and I go, it's because I'm inherently lazy. And they go, what? I said, I'm inherently lazy, so I got to find better ways. I got to find productivity hacks that allow me to get stuff done, because I don't want to do things the hard way. I want to find the better way. Yeah.
And I think another thing, if I want to say a software tool or whatever it is, technology, I take courses, man. I take a lot of online courses and see what I'm capable of doing. Because there's my also thought is the only thing that hinders me and my growth is my boundaries of what I think I can and cannot do, which is all based nowadays on technology. Yeah. So it's like I used to play football. So I think, okay, there's boundaries in this football field. But what if the boundary was outside the stadium, right? How much more could I operate and do and run around? And so for me, it's like some people, they know of 2 or 3 things. Those work for them, but that's your boundary now. And so if I expand my knowledge and keep learning and keep trying things, well, now my boundary expands to the parking lot, expands outside the stadium, and goes from there.
So true. So true. We get, I had a conversation just the other day with someone. I said, we get caught up in the education system. And they think, I got my degree, so my education's over. And I said, no, your degree process is over. Your education never stops.
Never does.
It never stops. And so, I look at it, and it comes from all kinds of places, which kind of leads me to this next question. And we've got just one other question after that. And so is the resource question. What is one book that you believe had the biggest impact on you that is still relevant today?
Yeah. The first book I really read in this space was 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. It for me was like, it's pretty analytical, like it's very straightforward. It's not like philosophical. Yes, he ties some concepts in, but really the way it was structured and broke itself down, it was like, for me, this like a humongous, like it was a new window that got wiped clean.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm in control of this. Oh, okay. That makes sense. Like, do I have a mission statement for my life? Like, how do I communicate? Like, one of the things I love, my favorite chapter is seek first to understand.
Yeah. Huge.
I mean, I use that concept every time I talk to somebody now. And so in doing that, it allowed me to say, oh, there's more. And then it started having me look for other books. So then I read Man's Search for Meaning, and then ventured into reading the Motivation Manifesto, and I read your book as well. So it's all these things that just kind of, I venture out. And what happened was, if I didn't read that book, I don't think that I comprehend how much more wealth of knowledge there is that gives me so much more control of being happy in my life.
So good. So good. So here's the doozy question. If you could travel back to day one of kind of your beginning on this entrepreneurial journey and had 15 minutes with yourself, 15 minutes to kind of have a conversation about the lessons that you've kind of acquired, having a conversation with hopes to try and save you some mistakes and heartache, what would you tell yourself going back? Man,
I feel like I had an answer for this, but I don't think the answer that I typically would use would suffice here. I think for me, if I was to go back 15 years, I would just say really trust your hustle. I would be kind of how I would say it. I know there's a lot that most people would say, I'd say, hey, pick the stock, right? But I think the sad part is a lot of people want to change something. And I had a guy send me a message yesterday. He says, I'm really sorry about your past. Someone should tell you that they're, it's not okay for it to happen. I said, yeah, you're right. It wasn't okay for it to happen. But the truth of the matter is, really, for me, I don't like what happened, but I appreciate every moment of it. I am who I am. I have my filter that lets me see the world the way I see it. And because of how I see the world, that creates how I feel about myself and feel about the world. So I was go back 15 years ago and just give myself a better push. It would be just trust your hustle. Because there's moments, I'm not gonna lie, it's moments where I didn't grind. I didn't push. It happened, but I think I don't want to tell myself about the future, but I want myself to learn the lessons along the route. I think you can't learn the lesson if you're not in class. Period.
Absolutely.
So I don't want to remove myself from class. I just want to be when I'm sitting in class, can I get a better textbook? What is it? Just pay attention, man. Just pay attention, man. That's it.
Sweet. All right. So this has been so cool. Anthony, you've got so much that I think you can share with our audience, my audience, and people. It's so amazing that. So if someone wants to find out a little more about Anthony Trucks and what Anthony Trucks is doing, where can we send them? Where can we let them go to find out more?
Easily. Go to anthonytrucks.com or go to renewuniversity.com, they're both spelled just how they sound. Trucks is Trucks and renewuniversity.com.
Beautiful, beautiful. Anthony, I cannot thank you enough for being part of the show. Being part of this is a gift to the Solution Nation and the whole community. And you're a blessing in my life and my family's life. And so thank you for being part of this. And,
very welcome, man. Thank you.
Let's rock this thing, huh?
Sounds good, man. Count me in.
Cheers, buddy.
We hope you enjoyed this episode. Make sure you subscribe so you get access to all of Mel's business and success tips. And if you like this episode, share it with a friend. If you have a specific business or success question, you can ask it at www.askmelnow.com. Remember, it's all about being bold, dreaming big, and living life your way. Because the world needs you. Until the next episode, may your vision be grand, your journey epic, and your legacy significant.